Football is back, and in particular, Duke football is back. So excited. Game day is here. The Blue Devils in action a little bit later tonight.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It is so great to have you here with us on this Friday, August 30th, 2024. The wait is over. The Duke football season is back, and we're so excited for what the Blue Devils can do here in 2024 as they open up the season a little bit later against Elon. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We talk a whole lot of Duke basketball and Duke football, touch on other sports from time to time, but man, we're excited about the start of this football season and the Manny Diaz era leading the way for the Blue Devils. Kevin Connelly, the site expert for Ball Durham, is going to join us on today's podcast. Go support his work and all the great things that he does over there at Ball Durham. But for our Locked On Blue Devils listeners, thanks again for your support. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Also, make sure that you leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support of Locked On Blue Devils as we continue to grow each and every year. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So without further ado, really excited to bring him on into today's show. He is our pal, Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham, here with us once again. Dude, football season is finally here. The Blue Devils playing a Friday night game.
And it's awesome, right? Friday night. And if you're a Duke fan, it's almost like, yes, you're playing Elon. You're expected to win. I think last time I checked, they're a 24-point favorite. You got the debut of Malik Murphy, the debut of Manny Diaz as a head coach. But like Friday night game, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, you get to enjoy the first real Saturday of college football. Am I right? Yes, you would love to see the Blue Devils on that first real Saturday of college football, but how great would it be just to be sitting back, watching all the games, relaxing with a 1-0 record? I can't think of a better way to start if Duke's able to come out with a victory.
It's been a decade since Duke and Elon have played one another. Duke is 7-0 all-time against the Phoenix, who went 6-5 last season. They missed the FCS playoffs. So an opponent that's not going to give too much of a fight, one would think, against them. However, as we saw in college football last night and week 0 last weekend, I'm sure we'll see this tomorrow with all the Saturday slate of games, man. It takes a little bit. Everybody's got to kind of get back into rhythm.
Yeah, the final score is escaping me, but look at NC State. And NC State was a team ranked in the top 25. Yes, they did come away with a victory, but I think they were down at the end of the first quarter. I think it was a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, you think you're going to win. You think it's going to be easy, but once you strap the pads out there and buckle up that chin strap, it's anyone's game. And that's what they say, any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given Friday. Pick the day where you're playing. But certainly I think there's a lot to be excited about for this Duke football team.
Yeah, big shout out to those Western Carolina Catamounts. My father being a proud alum of that squad. They had a 21-17 lead over NC State entering the fourth quarter. And then NC State, of course, had a productive fourth quarter, and won that game 38-21. But you're exactly right, Kevin. I mean, look, just because Elon is the opponent that you're supposed to kind of walk over, you still have to go out there and get the job done. This is still not only Malik Murphy making his first start at Duke, it's a new offense with the new offensive line. Jonathan Brewer comes in as the offensive coordinator, successful years as a play caller there at SMU. But for everybody, it's going to take a little bit to get back into rhythm.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's why the schedule benefits Duke of how they start. Yes, the matchup against Northwestern next week, although they're not really projected to be that good of a Big Ten team. But you look at Elon at Northwestern, UConn, just those first three games to start. And then I think it's another road game against
Middle
Middle Tennessee
Tennessee.
State
Yep.
before you get North Carolina at home. So I think these first 4 weeks are really good for them, just to try and work out all those problems and just make sure everybody's on the same page and everyone's clicking once you really hit ACC play with that big game against North Carolina, who, let's be honest, I haven't heard any updates. They had that last second victory last night because Minnesota missed a field goal. Their quarterback, Max Johnson, got pretty banged up. So you never know what's going to happen against the team you're playing in week 4, week 5, week 6, because I think we said earlier this week, it's contact sports, a physical sport. Things are going to happen that you don't expect.
Yeah, I did just get the update, and you're great because that's where I was going to pivot to next. Got to be careful. Max Johnson plays at LSU, plays at Texas A&M, then transfers over to North Carolina, the lefty, son of Brad Johnson, former Buccaneers quarterback. Tar Heels really excited about him being their gunslinger this season. Just found out he broke his right leg officially and will miss the entire season. Just a major blow for that North Carolina football team, who had a pretty contested quarterback battle there in fall camp. But that's what you never want to see. You never want to see injuries take place. And, I mean, that's what the quarterback room was for Duke last year. It was Riley Leonard getting hurt, and then it was Henry Beelan stepping in before he got hurt. And then finally, the true freshman Grayson Loftus gets a chance to get out there.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. And I mean, Duke's depth was tested last year, and let's be honest, like Mike Elko created a really good quarterback room. He felt confident in all three guys, and all three guys won games for Duke last year. So that's a tough blow for Max Johnson. I was watching the end of that game and saw him get injured. You knew it wasn't that great right away. But that's a tough update. But it all comes down to your depth, and that's why everyone loves to play like the game where, all right, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. But down the road, you don't know what's gonna transpire with the team you're playing in October and November.
Yeah, you have no idea who's going to be healthy for your squad or theirs, so it's so hard to make those type of predictions. First game of the season tonight for Duke, taking on Elon. What's it going to take for the Blue Devils to be successful? We'll step aside, and when we come back, Kevin Connelly will rejoin us on the program, and we'll break all of that down. Here we go. We continue in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy, a brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them the alert, energizing feeling they need to get through a busy and hectic day. You always know where to find 5 Hour Energy shots, right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Code not good on prescription or subscription orders, Go to 5hourenergy.com. 5 Hour Energy is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Factor Meals. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. With over 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always find new flavors to explore. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Factor Meals, proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Welcome back into the program. JJ Jackson here with Kevin Connelly, the site expert for Ball Durham. Kevin, appreciate you joining us here on this Friday. Tell people about the work that you do over at Ball Durham, if you will, sir.
Well, for Ball Durham, as you kind of touched on with your own podcast at the top of the show, we're all over Duke basketball and Duke football. Opening night is tonight. We'll have a ton of content up for you Saturday morning, recapping the game, thoughts, opinions, all about the game. And then obviously we're on top of everything around Duke basketball as well. Big weekend upcoming with the Boozer twins being back on campus for an unofficial visit, and everything else going on. A couple of NBA guys are back on campus. Derek Lively, I think we saw Vernon Carey, Jared McCain, all back in Durham this weekend too. So certainly all over that over at Ball Durham, balldurham.com, and on social media at ball_Durham.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this Duke football team getting set for the game tonight against Elon. The offense is something to watch. New offensive coordinator Jonathan Brewer, along with this entire new coaching staff. Really excited to see how this offense looks with the new quarterback in Malik Murphy. But what we did notice a little bit last night, Kevin, and watching many of these college football games, and even going back to last Saturday and week 0, and of course we had that Georgia Tech to Florida State game in Dublin, Ireland. Teams running the ball a little bit easier than maybe their passing attack is. And, you know, you look at the changes in the sport over the last 10, 15, 20 years, it has become more and more of a pass-heavy offense across the sport, and yet everybody's kind of running the ball well to start the year.
Well, yeah, and when you think about it of how a team comes together, it feels like the passing attack, for whatever reason, and there's a couple of them, is always last behind. When you start training camp, typically it's the defense is ahead of the offense. And okay, like you kind of understand that because the defensive concepts, I guess, are easier to grasp and install, and people get the hang of it a little bit faster. Then when you kind of just piece together the offense in a whole, all right, the offensive line is going to work together. And those 5 guys are going to be all on the same page. And then you work in the quarterback and the running back, and you put in your run scheme plays. And then all of a sudden, you throw the wide receivers out there, and it just becomes a little bit harder to connect right off the bat. So I agree. I think a lot of us want to see Malik Murphy go out there and air it out and throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. But is that likely going to happen? Probably not. I can see Duke, very similar to a lot of these other schools and a lot of these other teams, relying on the run here, especially tonight. You certainly want to incorporate the passing game. And then when you go to Chicago to play Northwestern next Friday night, your passing game, and you're feeling a little bit more comfortable where everybody's going to be.
So who's going to be toting the rock for the Blue Devils? That's kind of our big question that we're sitting here thinking about, because we watched that game again last night, NC State and Western Carolina, and Jordan Waters has a top 10 play on SportsCenter for bulldozing a Western Carolina defender. Tough to watch for Duke fans because he was playing for Duke last season, but back this year, expected to lead the way in that running back room is not Jordan Moore, because he's going to be doing great work there out at the wide receiver position, but Jaquez Moore is back for his senior season. And then Star Thomas transfers in from New Mexico State, having over 650 rushing yards last season at New Mexico State. Both Star Thomas and Jaquez Moore are going to be kind of those big names to watch out of the backfield.
Yeah, and last year I really loved Jaquez Moore. It just felt like every time he ran angry. And like he ran with a purpose. And like when he got the ball, he wanted to absolutely run over the person that was standing in front of him. So like I just loved his style of running. And I'm excited to watch it again this season. And I'm interested to see, maybe does Duke incorporate him a little bit more as a pass catching back out of the backfield. To your point, I think Jordan Moore, I think he's going to be really versatile. Yes, he's going to be big time outside. Can he be an 1,000-yard receiver? We'll see. But I think there's going to be a couple of plays, maybe not tonight, throughout the season, where you're going to see him in a couple of gadget plays where Duke hits it big.
They got to dial it up. He's a playmaker. He's great with the ball in his hands. I think that we'll absolutely see something like that from Jordan Moore. And it's a wide receiver room that's been completely turned around. Javon Harvey, I think, is going to make a lot of plays for this Duke team. Samir Hagans, along with Jordan Moore. Really good stuff from Malik Murphy. He's got targets to throw the ball down the field too. And as the game goes on, we'll start to learn more and more players expected to make an impact. And a lot of the younger guys, even against a team like Elon, your goal is going to be to let them get out there and let them play a little bit.
Yeah, it is. And again, I don't want to keep harping on the schedule, but especially at least take three of the first four if you want to leave Northwestern out of it. I mean, Connecticut's not very good, and you get them at home. And then Middle Tennessee State, I know as a mid-major, past couple of years, they've been very respectable. And yes, it's on the road, but again, it's a game that Duke should probably go in and handle and take care of business and win convincingly. So I think you're going to see Duke's depth on display in these first 4 weeks of the season. And Manny Diaz and his coaching staff, you can only learn so much in practices and controlled scrimmages, right? You really learn a lot when you see them against another team who's game planning to try and stop them. And you're going to see the players that they trust and they believe in going down the depth chart throughout these first couple of weeks.
Without a doubt. Excited to see this game tonight. Duke and Elon. Blue Devils should pick up a win before they head on to take on Northwestern next week to open up the Manny Diaz era. First game, first memories being created a little bit later tonight with Manny Diaz. Going to be so much fun to watch and enjoy. All right, we've got one more break coming up. And then when we come back, we've got a little bit more of a weekend preview, a couple of topics to touch on with Kevin Connelly when we return in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson. He's Kevin Connelly. He's the site expert for Ball Durham. I got to do it, man. One more time. It's a Friday. What can we expect at Ball Durham? What do you want people to go check out?
All on top of this Duke football season opener. And let's be honest, next Friday night, Duke's back at it. So we'll be quickly turning things around and looking forward to that Northwestern game, big Friday night game in Northwestern. I think it's their new stadium, right?
Yep.
I think that they're moved into their new stadium, so that should be exciting. And then obviously knocking on wood for a Duke victory today. And then people are back on campus. We're going to get some more videos from this Duke basketball team, so we're excited about it.
Without a doubt, we've got big recruiting visitors expected to be on campus this weekend for Duke basketball with the Boozer twins set to have another visit. But before we talk a little bit more about that in a weekend preview, it's week one of the college football season. 12 teams are going to make the playoff at the end of the year. So much more intrigue in a lot of these non-conference matchups and games that are going to be played. And Kevin, one game over the weekend that Duke fans might catch their eye on is a really interesting matchup to start the year in the non-conference. It's Notre Dame taking on Texas A&M. It's new Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard starting opposite his former head coach at Duke, Mike Elko, who's now going into his first season as Texas A&M's head coach.
You know, JJ, I knew you were going to bring this up later in the show, and I'm glad. And I'm going to be looking at your comments here on YouTube because I want to know who Duke fans are rooting for. If you
I'm
have,
interested too.
like,
Yeah.
if you like, gun to your head, you have to root for somebody. Like, don't say you hope both teams. Like, I want to know who you're rooting for, and I think I know who the answer is. I think it's Notre Dame because based on the reaction of Duke fans when when Riley Leonard left and Mike Elko left, Duke fans were praising Riley Leonard, saying how he was a great Blue Devil and he gave his all to the program. And let's be honest, Notre Dame is a premier destination in college football, so they were excited for him taking that next step in his career. Duke fans were furious at Mike Elko. Not that he left, but the way he left. So I think a lot of Duke fans, in my opinion, are going to be rooting for Notre Dame to go on down to Texas A&M, and Riley Leonard puts a whooping on Mike Elko and ruins his first game at home as the Texas A&M head coach. That's how I think Duke fans are going to be rooting for.
Yeah, and hopefully in that question, people can see through, any bias that they may have towards a program like Notre Dame, positive or
Mhm.
negative feelings, or Texas A&M. And yeah, just the figures themselves, really appreciative of both those guys and what they did for Duke. But in my heart, in my mind, for whatever reason, people always tend to favor the young guy, right? The young buck, the 21-year-old quarterback in Riley Leonard. Because if I'm forced to make that decision, man, it's not even go take down Mike Elko. I just would love to see Riley Leonard's success once again out there on the football field, considering the injury, considering how much of a leader he was for the Duke football team. Like, I'm hopeful he's got a big season ahead of him.
Yeah, and he's a good kid, and all like the charity work he did around Duke and everything he did to support Duke and Duke football. I think there's no hard feelings for him entering the transfer portal and going to Notre Dame. So I think there's a major soft spot in the hearts of Duke fans for Riley Leonard. I don't know how much of a soft spot there is for Mike Elko.
All right, last thing for us this weekend. We mentioned it. Cameron and Caden Boozer, unofficial visits. They've already had official visits to their 3 finalists in Miami, Florida, and Duke. And now they're starting another round of trips across the southeastern United States, Kevin. And I guess we're maybe getting closer to a decision.
I think we're definitely getting closer to a decision because playing in where they play in high school ball in the state of Florida, their season starts early. It's not like they start in December when other states start up, and they play a national schedule. So I think they're probably going to want to have their recruitment wrapped up by then, at least at the beginning part of their season. I don't think it's that much of a coincidence either that some of the recent pro players are back in town this weekend. Like we mentioned, Derek Lively and Jared McCain. I don't think that's the biggest coincidence either. So they won't be at the game tonight. I think their unofficial visit starts on Saturday. So we'll be having to wait on pins and needles for videos and photos to come out.
Yeah, Duke posted earlier this week inside the locker room yesterday. It was that both Jay Billis and Mike Krzyzewski came back to speak to this year's team ahead of the year. And you're mentioning, Grayson Allen has had recent offseason visits back to the team and to visit the facility. So, yeah, pretty wise, man. If they're watching the new Jordan commercials and promos and they're seeing Tatum and Zion and Paulo Banchero, I mean, yeah, it's good work there from Duke.
Also, yes, John Shire is the lead recruiter. Also, Mike Krzyzewski is going to be involved in this visit this weekend. Do not get that twisted. I'm sure Carlos is going to be there, and Mike Krzyzewski is going to be very involved, I think, in this unofficial visit this weekend with the Boozer twins.
Let's make this happen, man. I got to see those guys playing for the Duke Blue Devils. That would be absolutely awesome. Well, Kevin, what's awesome is you, my friend. Big Duke game coming up a little bit later tonight. Labor Day weekend ahead. I hope that all the Duke fans out there are prepared for a fun and exciting weekend. We'll have a show for folks on Monday to recap the game and what it's going to look like for Duke to start this 2024 season. And tell folks once again, where can they find the work? Where on social media?
Social media, ball_Durham. And then if you just go to your Safari or your web browser, it's balldurham.com.
Awesome. Kevin, great to see you, man. Thanks for the time today.
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Kevin Connelly. He is the site expert for Ball Durham, and he's joining us here on today's show. As that brings our show to a close, really excited to see this game unfold between Duke and Elon a little bit later tonight. And then, yeah, I can't wait. A&M and Notre Dame, Elko and Leonard. That's going to be epic. Make sure you check that all out. And the Boozer twins, please go ahead and commit to Duke. That'll do it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. Like this podcast, share it with your friends, and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. My name is JJ Jackson. We're back with you on Monday. Go Duke. Thank you and good day.